toy monkey? That sounds like my kind of movie. Hello everyone, and welcome on That Horror Chick, my channel where I ramble about all things horror. My name is Angie and I am a huge horror fan. From books to movies, I like it all. Last weekend I finally had a chance to go to the cinema to watch The Monkey. This was one of my most anticipated horror movies of the year, and I have to say it didn't disappoint. I loved it so much. I just laughed the whole time. The Monkey came out in February and is a comedy horror. And it makes this very clear from the very first scene. The Monkey is a movie that doesn't take itself seriously at all. The story is about twin boys, Bill and Hal, who find a toy monkey in the belongings of their father. Their father disappeared years ago and they have no idea where he is. The only thing that they have left are the little knickknacks inside a closet. When they find this toy monkey, a series of absolutely outrageous deaths occur. They get rid of the monkey, but is the monkey gone for good? 25 years later, the monkey resurfaces, and the two brothers who became estranged from one another have to work together to confront the cursed toy. The Monkey is based on a Stephen King short of the same name. Now I have to say that I haven't read it in a very long time. I think the last time that I actually read The Monkey was when I was still living at home. My mom was a big Stephen King fan and she had a copy of The Skeleton Crew. But there was one thing that I definitely remembered about this story. And that was the fact that the monkey had symbols. The monkey in the movie doesn't have symbols, but he has a little drum. I don't mind this change at all. I actually think that it was a very good call. Hearing the symbols every time someone died would probably have gotten quite annoying. But I discovered something interesting when I googled why the monkey has a drum instead of symbols. It turns out that Disney has trademarked a monkey with symbols for Toy Story. Now I'm not entirely sure why you would trademark this. Especially since I read a little fact that the monkey from Toy Story is actually based on the monkey from Stephen King. If you put the monkey from The Monkey across of the monkey from Toy Story, they do bear quite some similarities, with the only difference being the symbols and the little drum. The movie has added a lot to the story. I mean, it was a short story and they did need to spice it up for the 98-minute runtime. The only thing that I think that they could have explored a little bit more is the lore of where the monkey came from. But the gory death in this movie definitely make up for that. A thing that I did not expect was that the movie was split in two. We start with a little flashback to when Bill and Hal were young, and the second part of the movie is in the modern times. This gave us some much needed backstory on the twins, but also some much needed backstory on the monkey. And I think thanks to this flashback we already established an emotional connection to the twins. The monkey has a brighter color scheme than most horror movies, though the usage of shadows and lighting makes it much more menacing and dark. One thing that I definitely noticed was the usage of the color red. The color stood out with, of course, the blood, but it also stood out a few other times, like the bright red suit of the estate agent, the red in the motel sign, and of course the monkey's little red vest. I am not sure if this was done on purpose, but it simply was something that I kept noticing. I love how dated the flashback scene looked. It definitely looked like it was taking place in the 70s. They did this by adding simple little details, like the furniture in the background or the glasses that the aunt wears. Other than that, there wasn't much that stood out to me in terms of looks. The costumes were okay, the clothes definitely felt like they belonged in the 70s. And there was a good usage of shadows and light to give the movie a more horror-like, darker feel. The Monkey is directed by Osgood Perkins, who also directed Longlegs, which is another movie that I really liked. But if I'm entirely honest, The Monkey lacked the creepy atmosphere that Perkins is so good at. I knew that he directed this, but if you would have told me that it was someone else, I would have believed you. Still, I think The Monkey is a great addition to Osgood Perkins' portfolio. It shows that he can do more than atmospheric horror, and that he's pretty good at dark comedy as well. There are basically three main characters in this movie. We have, of course, the twins, Bill and Hal, and then we have Hal's son, Petey, who is named after his grandfather. The fact that they kept the cast of characters quite small definitely did good for the emotional connection. I think if they had added more characters, an emotional connection would have been much more difficult. Now we really got to spend our time with these three characters. We got to know them, we got some backstory, we got their personality, and we really began to root for them. Theo James played both Hal and Bill, and these two characters differed so much from one another. One is your typical cool guy and the other is your typical high school nerd. It showcased the acting range of Theo really well. At first, I didn't even notice that it was the same actor. My brain somehow didn't make that connection. Petey, Hal's son, is a very interesting character as well. He felt just distance enough from his father, who he only sees once a year. This whole once a year thing was Hal's idea, which also really adds to his personality. He thinks that he is a danger and wants to protect his family. That being said, the cast of supporting characters is enormous. And we didn't even get to know them very well. Most of them felt like they were purely there to be killed off as soon as possible. As soon as a new character appeared on the screen, you could be almost certain that they will die. Though there is one support character that got a little bit more screen time, and thus we got a little bit more of a connection to him. This would be Ricky, aka Treasure, played by Rowan Campbell. This is the character that finds the monkey at a garage sale and eventually sells it to Bill. And this character dies a laughable, ridiculous death. Every character in The Monkey felt like they were pushed over the top, which definitely added to the funny feeling of the movie. Some of them felt very stereotypical, and many personality traits were blown up to the extreme. Personally, I think this was a good call for a movie like The Monkey. It doesn't take itself seriously, so it doesn't take the characters seriously either. It made the movie feel much more cohesive, and I could definitely appreciate that. Also, just a little side note, but Elijah Wood as Ted was hilarious. I think that was such a genius casting choice. The moment that he appeared on screen, I think I laughed so hard that I was almost choking in my popcorn. This movie very much was on the lighter side of horror, with a lot of humor and even a couple of memes. Did you spot the memes? I'm very curious if you did. Let me know in the comments down below. The gore scale of this movie was very much up there. Now I've heard people compare this movie to Final Destination. And I did see where the comparison comes from, with The Monkey having such over-the-top deaths. Final Destination, of course, is also all about those death scenes. But I think that The Monkey just misses that feeling of dread that the Final Destination manages to invoke in the audience. The Monkey heavily depends on the gore and the shock factor. The deaths are over the top and somewhat complex. The gore, quite literally, is splattering all over the screen. In book terms, The Monkey would have been a splatterpunk. And I think that in movie terms, this is called a splatter film. It made me think of movies like Saw, Hostel, The Collector and House of Wax. Though it didn't quite reach the high that those movies managed to reach. Splatter films are a whole subgenre on their own. And they definitely are my favorite horror movies. They are filled with body gore and that just definitely is my thing. That being said, I also really like supernatural movies and found footage. But if somebody loses a limb, I will probably like the movie. I personally think that The Monkey had very little jump scares. I felt like you could see everything coming from miles away. This took away the surprise element in some of the death scenes. But it also added to the fact that this movie doesn't take itself seriously at all. Still, I think that this movie could have done with a jump scare or two just to shake the audience up a little. In the end, I definitely enjoyed The Monkey and left the theater with a very satisfied feeling. I just absolutely love horror movies that don't take itself seriously at all. I went into the theater without a lot of expectations and I was very pleasantly surprised. There were plenty of moments that I just couldn't hold my laugh in. The monkey was very entertaining and I had an absolute blast watching it. It is a movie that is very fast-paced and I didn't lose my interest for a second. I ended up rating the monkey 4.5 stars out of 5. It is definitely my kind of movie, with its ridiculous deaths, huge amount of gore and dark humor. Though I can also imagine people not liking it because of the exact same reasons why I love it so much. Too much gore and very little plot. Personally, I didn't mind this too much, but I am a huge gore lover, so that probably is why. I definitely enjoyed all of the over-the-top death scenes quite a lot. Though the only voice that I have with this movie is that I would have liked to know a little bit more about the monkey and where he came from. Maybe we'll see that in a prequel. That is what I am hoping for. The father of the two boys, Petey, has disappeared. And we have no clue where he has gone. We only see him briefly in the prologue of the movie. So I definitely think there is an opening there for a prequel. Maybe show us where Petey has found the monkey. In a different country, on one of his journeys, he was, I believe, a pilot. So that definitely is something to work with there. All in all, The Monkey was a super enjoyable movie for me. And it definitely is a movie that I want for my physical collection. I see myself rewatching it quite a lot, and I think it might even become a new comfort movie for me. Some other of my comfort movies include Saw 1 until 10 and Final Destination. So I think it definitely has the same gory vibe as those. And that is what I thought about The Monkey. Have you seen The Monkey yet, and what did you think? Let me know in the comments down below. I always love hearing your opinions on all the movies that I watched because it can be just so different from each other. Everybody is different and likes different things. So a movie that I liked might not be a movie that you liked. If you want to stay up to date about all the movies that I watched, you can follow me on Letterboxd. I also have an Instagram where I post about the movies that I watch now and again. I hope that you enjoyed this video. Please leave a thumbs up, leave a comment down below and subscribe on my channel if you haven't done that yet. Thank you all so much for watching and I will see you in the next video. Bye bye!